I think we are full house now, and I'll want to start by asking for those who've joined us, if you can hear me, please raise a hand. I'll just like to confirm that you all can get me loud and clear.
Yeah, yeah. We can get you service.
Yeah, for the participants, please raise a hand. If you can hear me, raise a hand. If you can't hear me, you can drop me a private text just to let me know that you can't get me clearly. If there are challenges with my audio again, don't feel free to raise a hand or do me a DM so that I actually know that you're having problems here. Okay. Mm, all right. So no, 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 no. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. Great. So I want to assume that you all can get me loud and clear. So good morning from Nairobi. Glad you guys can join us today. Welcome to the L Bridges webinar. Today is 19th of June 2020. My name is Sefa Zakoth. I'm the founder and lead at Cyber in Africa. We do cybersecurity media, and we call ourselves the voice of Africa cybersecurity. And we are glad that you can join us today. This webinar is organized by Yelbridges, a cybersecurity company based in Nairobi, Kenya. In this webinar, we'll consider and discuss emerging cybersecurity trends amidst the COVID-19 crisis. And with us, we have two gentlemen today who will be addressing the above topic and issues that spring out during the conversation. And I'll be asking them, of course, to introduce themselves in a little while. So meanwhile, you can sort of connect with us on LinkedIn. Lisa, you could help us share LinkedIn and Twitter addresses for the guests, Yelbridges and Cyber in Africa. So keep checking the chat section. We'll be sharing those links. We'd love to connect with you guys. Follow us. Let us follow you back. And let's even take this conversation outside this webinar into the social spaces. A bit of housekeeping. Please ask your questions or seek clarifications in the chat at any point in time. Feel free to share information or links to any knowledge resources relevant to the topic today. In case of any technical hitches during the course of this webinar, please be patient as and stick around, as we try to fix them out, because whatever can go wrong can go wrong. Before we get into today's agenda, in our webinar last week, we talked about why investing in cybersecurity is vital, especially right now. We looked at the cybersecurity market in Africa and some of the opportunities that exist. Again, a very interesting conversation it was, and you can watch the webinar later on demand on the Yelbridges YouTube channel. So please go to YouTube, search Yelbridges, and you will find the recordings. And we'd love to get your comments and ideas and feedbacks in the comments section on YouTube as well. So be sure to go watch that. Okay, so let's get into it. Today's talk, we have Michael and we have Jerome. Gentlemen, please, you can introduce yourselves, and I will begin with Jerome. Jerome?
Yes,
All right.
thank you, Cephas, of course. I'd say you're Okot with an H, yeah? Thanks for being my namesake. Should actually thank God. Well, yeah. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all welcome to this beautiful session. Thanks to Yelp Bridges, Lisa, Cephas, and team. I'm glad to be a part of this amazing session. Now more than ever, we need the world to get to know more about cybersecurity and how it's literally meddling in their lives. Once again, I'm Jerome Okot, Chief Operations Officer at Millennium Security, which is a cybersecurity firm based in Kampala and Uganda. Not limited geographically to what we can do. So even if you're in South Africa, we can reach you. Yeah, it's good to be a part of this, and also in close collaboration with Yale Bridges and the great team they have. Thanks, guys.
So welcome, Okot, without an H. Nice to have you. Yes, Michael. Michael, I think you're mute. Okay.
Hello,
Mike.
guys. You can hear me? Good. So good morning, everyone. My name is.
We've lost you. Yeah, we can hear you, but distance from a mile away.
Saying my name is Michael Felix. I'm security analyst at Yale Bridges. I'm also passionate about digital forensics and ICS security. Always happy to be in this forum to share knowledge on what we know and what we probably intend to know from you guys, because at the end of it all, sharing knowledge is about getting to learn what you don't know and always learning something new. So looking forward to this conversation, and I hope it will be engaging. Thank you, Safas and Lisa, for putting this together.
You're welcomed, and always glad to have you guys. I know Yelbridges and Milima Security are very good partners and friends, and it'll be interesting to have you share your perspectives from both countries, and of course, generally from across Africa and beyond. So again, today we are talking about trends and trends in cybersecurity. And by definition of trends, if I could go to the basics, is sort of a pattern over time, of things happening. And briefly, Mike and Jerome, what are the top cybersecurity trends that you can mention from the top of your head? Things that you've seen happening, say in the last 6 months since this year started. Some of us are still saying probably 2020 hasn't started. But what are some of the top of your mind cybersecurity trends that you've seen in the last 6 months? Let me start with Jerome. I think you're on mute. Okay.
Great. I actually needed your permission to get unmute. Well.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right.
Thanks for that question. Very straight into the immediate situation that we're going through with the pandemic and all. Top of my mind, if you'd ask me about the trend of cybersecurity right now, is areas around economic disruption. Yeah, with the disruption of the economy because of lockdowns, because of limitations and restrictions here and there, there is disruption in the way people are conducting business, but also this brings, of course, on board two key issues: the people who are making the money, the people who are not making the money, and there are the sharp guys who are trying to make money by not making money. What I mean is they're fraudsters, of course. Key things that we observe is there's a lot of phishing taking place. There's, of course, lots of false identity, talking about fake companies coming up to benefit from funds and COVID support. And then also there's a lot of what you call lately the infodemic. I think it was mentioned in 1 or 2 webinars ago. Yeah, a lot of misinformation and fake news experience. So that's what I really seek you, as you've asked. Top of my mind, that's what I see that is going on, especially with the cybersecurity space. And of course, more that we shall share as we go on.
It's interesting that you've actually started with interruption, because I think it's one of the top fears that leaders and security folks are having, because of this cybercrime wave and increase in cybercrime. A lot of businesses are experiencing disruptions, and it costs a lot to have disruptions. Mike, what do you think? Hey, Michael.
Yeah. So what can come? What is on my mind right now is one, cloud jacking. A lot of organizations have gone cloud way, and now they're working from home. So criminals have seen a good way to make people a target, and the cloud jacking attacks have with time increased. The other one I've seen is about data leakage and hacktivism. A lot of hacktivism is going around. So you'll find groups or organized groups of hacking teams just going around causing a lot of disruption. So bringing down websites like Kenya, we were a victim. We've seen all of what is happening in the US. So hacktivism is really one of the things that is really making a lot of rounds right now in the cybersecurity space. Another one that is on top of my mind is automobile hacking. I don't know whether you guys saw that Honda was a victim of cybercrime. So, and also the fact that health and research, medical research facilities are also being part of the facilities that are highly being attacked by cyber criminals. So there's a lot, I think, that is happening right now in terms of the cybersecurity space. We've also seen a lot of 0 days attacks that are happening, especially for Windows users. A lot of 0 days that have been there, and a lot of them have been tried to be patched. So quite some really interesting trends nowadays. I think I can, as we go on with the discussion, I'll share some of the things that I had prepared for you guys to see.
Interesting, and I was just about to get to that. I know you have some really interesting observations that you've put together for us today, and again, I think thinking top of the mind and thinking, starting with the obvious stuff, you know, the ransomwares, the fraud and the fake news and everything. I think is a very interesting place to begin, because someone told me that real cybersecurity is so deep and so wide down there that you might, you know, possibly not talk about it, or not many people talk about it. Think of it like the information warfare that is currently happening across nations. Think of state actors who have elevated their activities, you know, leveraging on the COVID-19 chaos, you know, which has created a perfect storm for everyone. So, Mike, if you're ready, please share your screen. Take us through the presentation that you have. It will be interesting to see from a global view what are some of the threats vis-a-vis you know, what is being done, and the geopolitical aspect of it as well. So, all right, great, Mike, if you're ready.
Yep. So on today, you're going to be looking at most of the emerging trends, especially amidst COVID-19, or commonly known by most of us, coronavirus. I know most of the people, according to where you went to school to, you want either to call it corona or COVID-19. So never mind about that anyway. So in the world, as the world changes, what we human beings tend to do is we adapt. And during this pandemic period is that we've seen a lot of things that we have to adapt that were never the norm before. So things like working from home, working remotely, online meetings, less physical contact, all these are things that you are trying to understand. And also make sure that we are able to still stay productive in as much as we are trying to make money at the same time. And this being the case, the attack vectors have, number one, increased because most of the organization never saw this coming. So right now what is happening is that most of organizations are doing things in rush and just trying to make the production still go on within the organization. So the vectors for cyber criminals have actually increased. So some of the attacks that we've been seeing since December last year to right now as we speak is that we've seen a lot of health and medical research facilities data breach, distributed denial of service. Just 3 days ago, US was attacked highly. Ransomware attacks, car hacking, privacy violations and concerns. I'll get into these as I go on with the slides. Then 0-day attacks and very many other kind of attacks that have been going on. So I'll start with the first one that Jerome actually alluded to once he mentioned about fake information going around. So we've been seeing a lot of deepfakes. Deepfakes are misinformation that people tend to create just to make things look real, but they are not. So with artificial intelligence being in place right now, with a lot of people being at home, just being behind their keyboards, a lot of things have changed because now these people are changing the actual information to what is not the false information. So what seems to be real and factual, actually it's not. So there's a video here I put in. It's about, I don't know whether you've ever seen this video. It's about Barack Obama. So what he did is there's this guy who used AI to just clone what how Barack Obama looks like, and then he was giving misinformation. So I'll leave these on the chat so that you can have a look at it later. And many of you may think that probably we are not in the age of AI. We are not prone to AI or these deepfakes. But I have something for you. So Lisa, who's our marketing manager at Yale Bridges, tweeted one of these tweets. I don't know which one is real. I don't know which one is fake. So one of them says it's from the Yale Bridges Twitter account that virtual reality is an aspect that is the first. I'm reading the first screenshot. That it is an aspect that is alien to many, and people should be against it at all costs. Hashtag VCC will promote bad traditions and will not be of any productive nature for organizations. Stay away from it. VCC South Africa should be banned. So that is a tweet, and you can actually see, yes, this is not Photoshop. I have not Photoshopped. Oh, we have, the way I got this screenshot has not been Photoshopped. Then there is the actual tweet that Yale Bridges did. So which is now the smaller one. So one is real and the other one is fake. But if you took a screenshot of this and started distributing it to people, then it would be very hard for you as an organization to say that, no, we did not do that. But yes, the information is there. So deepfakes can affect anyone and everyone out there. So you can imagine keyboard warriors out there just trying to change information from how it was being brought out to how they want it to be seen. So anything and everything can be manipulated in this age of internet, and we've been seeing a lot of deepfakes, a lot of misinformation going around. Since the start of coronavirus, we've seen around okay, ICANN is the body that is mandated to register domains across the world. So since the start of this pandemic, most of these, a lot of guys went on to start registering domains around coronavirus. And ICANN had to take a step because most of these domains would be used for misinformation. So what they went ahead and did is that they denied a lot of domains, a lot of people to register domains that were around coronavirus, or like, so let's say someone trying to register corona.com or coronavirus.com, coronavirusupdates.com or .co.ke, all those domains were not being allowed to be registered during that period. So what happens is that people try to register these domains so that they can be able to disseminate information that is not factual, and if it is factual, then someone would try and compromise that. So a lot of that has been happening, and misinformation right now is one of the biggest things that is ailing our community. The other kind of attack that we've been seeing of late is the distributed denial of service. 3 days ago, US was hit by a distributed denial of service. It was a 2.3 TBPS. This is terabytes per second that was being sent to the US servers, taking down major companies like Amazon, T-Mobile, gaming platforms, Facebook, and IG. Hacktivism group, I don't know whether you or all of you, I think you all know about YouAnounce Central, say that it was speculated that it came from China, but ideally it did not come from China because it's distributed. So from the heat maps of distributed DDoS, you would see that these attacks were coming from different parts of the world, all directed to to the US. So distributed denial of service are things that are happening nowadays, and it's really causing a lot of disruptions right now. Another kind of attack that is really making rounds is cloud jacking, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation. So most of the organizations have gone cloud. So they've got their emails on the cloud, they've got security as a service, infrastructure as a service, pass, everything nowadays is a service, right? So working from home has made individuals, has made the staff for specific all the organizations to become individual targets. Why? Because the individuals hold information to the cloud. So what is happening is that through, let's say, phishing or social engineering, the attackers are now targeting these individuals that work for specific organizations, and because they already know that they are working from home, where at home we don't have the comfort of organizations infrastructure where we have things like firewall, IPS, IDS, and all these other technological security perspectives from an organization, that those things are not replicated at home. So at home you just find it's just a router or a connection that is giving you access to the internet, and just connect to it. So through phishing and social engineering, most of these guys are falling victims to credential theft. So their credentials are stolen, and then these guys get access to these cloud platforms. We know that cloud providers have really implemented enough security, if not good security, for these cloud platforms. So so far, cloud jacking has become one of the prevalent kind of attacks for most of the organizations. So it's prudent for most of the organizations to know how to protect their cloud platforms from unauthorized, from authorized but stolen credentials. We've also seen cases of privacy concerns. A lot of governments have started tracking individuals within their states or countries so that they can be able to see, they're calling it contact tracing. So they want to know who is where and who have they interacted with, just to try and curb the spread of COVID-19. We've seen China, South Africa, US, Italy trying to implement these. I think Uganda too. I think I saw something around Uganda doing an app that is doing contact tracing for coronavirus patients. And this has brought a lot of security concerns, because most of these applications that are being used have not, or are, they were built with little or no security concern within them. So what they needed to do is just track this person, let me know where he is, give me the details about him. Now that information is being intercepted, and a lot of concerns around that have come around, because most of the privacy concerns are being violated. The other one is ransomware attacks. Now, just yesterday, the Directorate of Homeland Security gave an alert of a ransomware targeting remote access systems. So if you're on VPNs, if you're RDP, remote desktop protocols, virtual private networks, and patch systems, there is an alert that was given just yesterday by the DHS that there's a ransomware targeting these specific platforms. So ransomware has become one of the things that has been making rounds a lot, because your device holds more information than anything else. So if they can hold that information at ransom, you'll have the pain of letting that information go. So what happens is that they hold that information ransom, and then they ask you to pay for that for that specific device or that specific information. Now, most of the times, or most of the times, that information never gets back to you. So what happens is that either you end up losing the information that the information that is within the device, and probably if you pay, they will come back to you again and say that you need to pay again. So you have no assurance that your information is actually safe. So ransomware has really become a nightmare for organizations, for individuals, for anyone out there, because immediately this thing gets you, it's I normally refer to it as a death spell, because very few people get out of it. So you need to be very careful about ransomware attacks and how you are able to go about them. The automobile industry is also under attack. Cars are becoming interconnected each and every other day, and they're becoming computerized. I think every model from 2007 of any car has a computer component within it, and we've seen instances where cars now are being controlled by a computer, and that has really changed how the cyberspace is, because you can imagine, I was doing some research and I saw that hackers, the last screenshot that down there, the hackers have found a freaky way to just kill your car. So you can imagine you're on a highway at, let's say, 100 kilometers per hour, and your car just shuts off. You can do physically nothing. So we've seen car hacking becoming one of the things that is doing rounds. Just when 9 days ago, Honda was hacked. Their database was compromised, and a lot of Honda clients were not able to access most of the information about Honda. So it's critical that people also start looking around car security and all that. Hacktivism and data breach, I am referring to the case of Kenya, because I think 4 days ago, all of you saw a trend on Twitter about a politician whose information was leaked on WikiLeaks, and what happened. You can go back to your Twitter accounts and check on that. But we've seen a lot of data breaches, a lot of hacktivism happening around. Started with Black Lives Matter in the US. Your non-central came out and started hacking or getting access, what do we call it? Doing denial of service to websites, hacking police walkie-talkies, just changing whatever they're hearing. And recently, just last week in Kenya, we had the same. We had the same instances where most of the government's websites are actually taken down in collaboration with not in collaboration, but for purposes. There's a famous writer who was arrested, and now this group of hacktivists went on and hacked most of the government websites. So, and then after that, we saw a leak of political documents just being put on WikiLeaks. So we've seen a lot of hacktivism and data breach happening, and it's really getting organizations to start worrying about how is their data within the organization actually being protected, because you're not very certain about how this information can stay within our premise or within your organization premise. Just the day before yesterday, 3 days ago, we saw that a CCTV footage that had been released, the guys who were culprits of releasing that CCTV footage are now being charged in court. Why? Because they leaked a CCTV footage from an organization without the organization's consent. So most of these things that are out there, most of the people don't really know the impact of that. But at the end of it all, it has one reputation damage. If it is for an organization, then the organization will have to really come back to show that it was not the intention for that information to be out there. So websites like WikiLeaks, Your Non-Central, which is a hacktivism group. In Kenya, we have, I think, Your Non-Kenya and all that. So these groups are really, really out there, and you never know. Probably they are after your organization. So you just need to make sure that your information is safe. Have the correct measures that you in your organization, that you can also be able to track what is happening. We've also seen 0 days attacks really getting big in in the last 1 month. So like in the last 1 month, cyber criminals have found 0 days attacks on most of the Windows systems. So you've seen, like, for example, the SMB version 3 RC Flowleak. This was one of the biggest 0-day attacks that Windows had to patch, because we've had instances where this specific patch has been issued before, but again, these hackers are at home just as you are. They are working from home, so they have a lot of time to do what they want. So a lot of 0 days have come up, and most of the guys don't really know how to protect themselves from 0-day attacks. But at the end of it all, you need to know that one, you need to patch up your systems. You need to be up to date with what is happening within or around you, because that's the only way that you can be able to monitor what is really happening. So just to end my presentation is some of the things that you need to do, some of the remedies that you need to put in place. Have an active monitoring within your network. Monitor your system always, because if you don't, then probably one of your staff may be compromised, and then the credentials is somewhere else, and these hackers get access to either a cloud platform or a system within the organization. Remember, you don't have a way to verify, because these people are working remotely. Now, you don't have a way as an organization to verify that this is an actual connection or not. But if you monitor your system actively, then you're able to know that this is active, this is not, and sorry, this is authentic, this is not authentic, and you should have policies within the organization that also puts your staff aware of what is happening within the cybersecurity space. Use secure networks. If you're at home, just secure your home network. Virtual private networks, although they are ransomwares, you just need to be careful. And also, for protection of your organization, have VPNs to connect from your home back to the organization. Stay up to date with what's happening. I think for these, you can subscribe to either Yale Bridges or Cyber in Africa weekly newsletters, so that you can be knowing what is happening within the space. Because that one they normally give updates of what's happening in the cybersecurity space. Have two-factor authentication, just in case your credentials are stolen. They still have to go another step. So two-step verification is very important. Security awareness. I think this is the basic of everything. Security awareness for everyone out there. So if you want your staff to know what to do in case they realize that their credentials are being stolen, they need to be trained on what to do. It's more of incident response on how to react to a specific incident. And then the last one is security mechanisms such as DLP, that is data leak prevention, DRP, data recovery plans, and security policies within the organization. They should be strict, and they should be adhered to, and they should be implemented. Because at the end of it all, these are the things that really need to have the organization up to standards with what's really happening within the cybersecurity space. So those are some of the things that you need to look out for within the organization. Just to round up, I've talked about deepfakes, about ransomwares, about privacy violation, and zero-day attack. Those are some of the things that you really need to look out for as an organization, so that you can be able to understand where you stand at. And I think that is where I learned the presentation, and we'll get now to have the actual discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark, for that, quite detailed discussion on threats and attacks that we are looking at in this crisis. You realize that most of them are similar to what has always been, even before COVID-19. But right now, they are taking, or rather leveraging the COVID-19 crisis and using the COVID-19 theme to be able to propagate out there in the wild. So interesting. You've talked about planning and recovering and incident response and things like those. And I think is important, because most of the attacks that happen is, over 90% of them use existing vectors. or rather are existing or even older type of threats. So it's easy to manage these with proper plans, proper recovery structures, leveraging on existing information out there. But let me come to Jerome, if you can hear me, Jerome. With regards to the issue of planning, do you think we have actually learned lessons, cybersecurity lessons from this crisis, especially when it comes to the preparedness and business continuity? What lessons are we looking to learn, or what lessons have we learned that you can transfer into the new normal we are getting into? Jerome, can you hear me? Okay, let me unmute you. There you go.
Great, thank you, Cephas, again. From the planning, and I like the situation that you put me into, because that's what I had ideally in mind. And I want to thank my colleague Mike for putting through, or what I would rather say, the very technical aspects of this discussion, right? And thanks, because you've brought me to where I had actually thought I'd have this discussion predominantly. The planning aspect, I would want to talk about this issue in three phases. When we talk about the trends, right? I looked at it in three ways. One, it is important to notice what is going on right now because of this pandemic. What has the pandemic resulted in us doing? What kind of behavioral patterns do we notice in the security or in the tech space? What is the human resource doing? How is the IT infrastructure responding, towards the current prevailing conditions? Then, after understanding what's going on, then I wanted to ask myself, or everybody out here, how prepared were we? You see, COVID didn't give people ample time to prepare for the situation. I mean, if we knew that in 3 months we're going to be locked down, or we're going to face certain challenges that are going to limit the ways in which we're going to be delivering on our various responsibilities, then probably we would have prepared adequately. And then lastly, which also now directly relates to the subject of the discussion today, what do we see in the near future? The near future being as of now or tomorrow or the next couple of months, because the crisis is not done yet. I mean, even if people are lifting their restrictions already, we know that some of the effects of this pandemic are yet to be felt. So speaking of planning, I hope this chronology fits into what you're asking me.
Yeah, sure. Knock yourself out.
Great. So yes, Mike, you're saying something?
Yeah, I like what you said, that this pandemic never gave us time to prepare. And I remember that we always say that cybersecurity is not about if, it's about when it will happen, right?
Very true.
So I was just thinking, why were we never prepared for things? We have policies, we have all these things that we normally write in paper.
Very true.
No one has ever looked into them. So I think this is a reminder for each and every organization and company out there that, what you put in paper should be actually implemented, because it's not about if, it's about when it happens.
That's very true. And Mike,
before you jump in, Jerome,
yes,
you know what they say about being ready. You can never be so ready for anything, right?
True. Now, thanks, gentlemen. Your voice and Mike's co-echo with mine in a deep understanding of cybersecurity preparedness, from standing from a knowledgeable person's point of view, right? But I want to also take this down, because in my line of operation in cybersecurity, I want to make the understanding of this security as easy to understand as possible to even an IT illiterate person. So I think my point of view is, fine, we understand the 3 C's and all those preparation metrics, fine. But there's somebody out there, the people out there who are not affected. I think that's the kind of audience that we also could be addressing. Some might know, some might have taken what we've been talking about for granted, and some might not really have cared or given a damn about it. So moving on, I think Felix has hinted of course, a couple of things, especially in terms of the threat landscape, what's going on. Speaking of the ransomware, the carjacking, the infodemics, the deepfakes, yeah, I share very much so in this in what he's shared about the current threat vectors that we see. But why could that be happening? I think there is a lot of survival instinct that people are, faced with. People are all about survival. Yeah, if I'm faced with an attack right now, how do I survive it? How do I get out of it without having its devastating effects, uh, come down so heavily on me? There's also something that I have noticed that is going on, which is pandemic profiteering. The people who are profiteering from the pandemic, how? You look at the threat map or the COVID heat maps, and somebody slides in malware, let's say, on the maps, or uses that to phish. So I think that's a new wave of attack that attackers are using, or the bad guys are using, right? And of course, among other things that Mike already mentioned, we see in the recent past, of course, I would like to add on to his voice, the hacking of the hospital in the Czech Republic and all, right? So that's what I see that is going on. And also what's going on right now, in addition, if I move on to the next step, is there's a lot of human substitution by AI, machine learning, and generally cybersecurity technologies. People are trying to, because of course the pandemic came through and everybody panicked, and the Ministry of Health says, or the government says, you guys, you cannot work from here, so move out, go home. Some people have tried to work remotely, others have left the work of, let's say, security analysts and the surveillance guys to the technology alone. That's a lot that I'm seeing that is going on, especially supported, of course, by artificial intelligence and machine learning. Very quickly, though, somebody cracked a joke recently saying, hey, you remember the technology we talked about moving towards in the next 10 years? Yo, it's happening now, So I think that was, it's funny, but it's real, right? Now, if we should move on to how prepared are we? Of course, the abrupt shift to remote work globally, some people are prepared, like maybe Felix here and Cephas. Guys are very prepared. They knew Zoom, they knew Google Meets and all these cloud video conferencing platforms that many people didn't know. Many HR processes have been suffocated because people don't know, how do I keep close tabs with my teams even as they work remotely, right? So coming down to the local scene in Uganda, I've interacted with some people, poor work from home culture. People don't know how do they account for their time? What infrastructure do they have to use? The tech, do they appreciate the technologies? Do they know what technology to use to support certain work elements? So whatever is going on because of the preparedness that people didn't have or people had is becoming a big, let me use the word, serious honeypot for the attackers, right? So moving on, what do I see happening in the near future? Even now, there is a rise in the need for the human element in security, as the lockdowns are being lifted, as restrictions are being relaxed. Now, right about now, there's a lot of attack going on, right? Borrowing from statistics of the NHS, as of the last 2 months, monthly, they've been able to deflect about 1.2 billion malware, that is trying to get a hold of their system. I think that is too much. But what is also very interesting is most of these attacks are being orchestrated by the same people. You see, the hackers don't seem to be increasing in number. Yeah, I think it takes a lot for someone to become a very badass hacker like the anonymous guys, right? So what I'm observing is, moving forward, the attacks are increasing, but then the attackers seem to be constant. The number of attackers seem to be constant. So what does this tell us? It tells us that they're only changing the way in which they are, orchestrating their attacks, right? The other thing that I see is that, of course, the cybersecurity job market is going to grow because people are going to be needed more. There's a lady I follow called Leslie Kahat. Her handle is Hack for Pancakes. I'm sure, Cephas, I don't know if you've seen her somewhere. So this lady says, guys, however much you try to substitute the human element with your artificial intelligence or machine learning and all of that stuff, or cybersecurity technology, people will always be needed to mitigate threats orchestrated by hackers, because hackers are humans. And I think I very much share with her idea. or a statement. So in a nutshell, the cybersecurity market is going to grow according to what I observe. We're going to need more analysts, more pen testers. We're going to need more malware analysts because we don't know, probably a new ballistic kind of malware is in the making. Recently, we've had the Maze ransomware devastating, cognizant in the recent past. I'm sure you guys have had. So the market is going to grow, of course, for cybersecurity jobs. The GDPR and data privacy laws are gaining more attention and implementation. Last year, Uganda enacted its Data Privacy and Protection Act, but as of early this year, the implementation was still very, very shallow. I think because people were still complacent, right? People were still relaxed. People were not really minding much about it. But with this COVID situation and a lot of, work from home being embraced, a lot of business operations being transferred to the cloud, a lot of transactions becoming cloud-based. Nevertheless, you see, Mike has mentioned, there's a lot of cloud jacking. There's a lot of activity going on in the cloud. People are procuring more cloud facility to ensure that business continues as usual. So now more than ever, we see that now this is the time that people are going to start studying what does the GDPR in the Europe say, or what locally does the Data Privacy and Protection Act say? Who are the culprits? What is going on? Even the people who are money hungry, they're like, yo, I think I'm now broke. I need recently, I think 1 week or so ago, there was a story going on in the news about Google being sued by somebody. Some of us who use the incognito version of Chrome, right? Google apparently has been storing some of that information, and it's funny that this information is still visible to your employer, to your school, probably to certain third parties that may need that information. Somebody is trying to sue them, and if this guy goes through, each one of us could walk away $5,000. I'm sure I'll be one of them. So what does it tell us? People are now appreciating this law exists. Of course, I think people are also broke. So this law exists. How do I come hard on somebody who is violating this law? And to counter that, also the companies that are harvesting information of people are becoming tighter and now starting to look at ways of hiring data privacy officers. So that more than ever is being, given attention right now in terms of the legal area of cybersecurity. I also see, as much as there is a big demand, of course, in the cybersecurity job market for cybersecurity professionals, I also see a lot of appreciation of managed cybersecurity services, because some companies have now seen that it is very possible to work with or without certain people. So I don't know if any of us here is working in a cybersecurity company or cybersecurity role. I think through this COVID crisis, you've been able to evaluate your position. And right now, I don't know whether or not your job is secure, but companies are starting to appreciate managed services. People are starting to outsource. There's what we call transfer of risk. People are now trying to see, how do we transfer this risk? Probably the pandemic found us ill prepared. Probably a machine would be in better position to instantly, act, to our rescue. Yeah, I see also, because of the appreciation, of course, of AI and this technology and all of that, there are new threat vectors that are coming up. Hackers are now becoming sharper. They're like, okay, if such and such an algorithm is being used to deflect threat, how do I meddle into that code and create a vulnerability, or create an exploit that can be used, to defeat that technology that is taking advantage of my job in the company, right? Yeah, generally also I see people are getting more, there's a lot of cyber hygiene, that people are starting to observe. People are, getting to know that these things are real. I think as people are less busy, attention is being paid to what matters, right? Something happens, like Michael mentioned earlier, something happens, it's going to be all over the news. And then because of that, you're going to start reflecting on yourself. What if I'm caught up in this web? What if I'm caught up? What if I fall victim of circumstance? So people are starting to become more aware of what's going on, and there is a lot more cyber hygiene that people are starting to observe, from basics like, password security. How strong can your password be? How do you, take care of your devices? Are you using current or dilapidated technology? Do you update your, your software and all of that? So that, in a nutshell, is what I see that is going on currently, and looking forward what we need to do. So first, I really hope I've exhausted as much as I can in this question that you've sent my way.
Well, you've really given us a broad overview of what I'll call trends, and here we are not just talking technical or the real actual cybersecurity aspect. You've covered survival instincts. You've talked about profiteering, which is an economic issue as well, and a very big one when it comes to cybersecurity. You've covered the workforce and how the changes are happening. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have more companies hiring right now for security. As much as we have people losing jobs,
Exactly.
companies are actually hiring. A lot of companies are hiring as well for security and other roles. We see a lot of movement in investments in security because we've been hit and we've been hit hard. No one
True.
anticipated being hit on such an expansive scale. So we could see a lot of investments going into security, and of course, with the investments, you see services like MSPs, MSSPs, and others. So all these really form kind of different factors that are contributing to the changing landscape of cybersecurity, not just from a threat and attacks perspective, but generally the function of security. And one particular one, I should mention this for the sake of our audience. The shift to the cloud. We've COVID-19 has really taken us into a deep dive into cloud. Zoom is cloud, and all the other many platforms we are using. So we've literally taken a deep dive. We've gone to the swimming pool and we've gone into the deep end on the first day. You can
I see.
imagine how
Yeah.
that goes.
Right.
So
Right. Right. That's true.
with this shift to cloud technology comes cloud security, and I think
True.
this is a very interesting area for our audience, particularly those who are looking to get into security. Go out there and study cloud security. All right. Right now, companies are adopting the cloud first approach. Companies are shifting all their functions and ops into cloud. So really, there's a huge need and a huge demand now in the future for cloud sec. And if you look at some of the top jobs currently in the world, top 10, somewhere in the middle there, we have AWS certified architect, for example. That is a certification. And being an AWS certified or AWS security specialist, there's much more demand right now for this kind of role, cloud related roles. So again, that is a trend. It's part of the trend in terms of workforce and jobs, and I think it's a very interesting thing. So let me direct this conversation to just before I do that, let me make an observation or two maybe. Um, so cyber attacks with characteristics similar to the coronavirus will definitely spread faster and further without, maybe even more than the biological virus. So the reason I brought in the issue of preparedness is while we might not have been actually prepared for cyber pandemic or cyber attack at a global scale that changes everything, the truth is that in the future we could have a cyber pandemic similar and even greater than what you're having with the disease pandemic of COVID-19. And think about how that can impact the internet. It is said that a single day without the internet will cost the world more than $50 billion. And imagine going on a 21-day global digital lockdown, internet lockdown. That will cost over $1 trillion, across the world. So the question is, how do we prepare now going forward? Um, this crisis has given us a real life test of our um, you know disaster recovery and business continuity plans. It has helped us test these plans and recovery procedures and all that. So it's gonna be an interesting thing to see in the new normal. So quickly, probably the next 15 or 20 minutes, let's talk about. Mike, you wanna say something? All right, cool.
Just go ahead and post the question.
All right. So let's direct this conversation to a few aspects of cybersecurity, and I'll start with insider threats. I remember a while ago, we were in a webinar like this, and I raised this question of insider threats. You know, are we seeing more activity from insiders, or are we seeing less activity from insiders? So probably Jerome, you can help me out here. It is still a big risk, to be honest, and maybe even bigger right now because you had mentioned about how HR should be managing their people working remotely and keep checking in and monitoring. We know insider threat is still a big risk because
Yeah.
employees working from home or whatever else they are, they're still connected to the corporate environment somehow. So it is a big risk. How do you think
Yes.
this is different? How do you think it is different now than it was, before the whole remote working, massive remote working thing came along?
Great. Thank you, Cephas. I was just actually recently contemplating, and I've been seeing interactions on social media, people cracking jokes. If your boss has not reached out to you in the past 2 or 3 days, I mean weeks, then man, better be very afraid. It's a funny joke, but somebody's daily bread is being snatched, roughly as it sounds. What I want to say about this is, it is true. Now more than ever, there is a lot of trouble, especially in companies. Some companies have shut down. Some companies are facing a downward spiral. You know, people are broke, and so hackers are maybe because of the pandemic. Some companies are becoming more stringent. I mean, more strict in the way they are observing their cybersecurity hygiene. And now the only way through to a robust security, setup is conniving with somebody in. What am I trying to talk about here? How are we interacting with employees? I'll speak from business leadership point of view as in the position I hold. I want to interact with my employees, right? Some truths is important, but also it's good to know how are your people doing? Do you have areas, do you have areas unpaid? Do you have people whose salaries are unpaid? Do you have people who have no salary, no allowances sorted? Do you interact with your team personally? Because it is only then that you'll appeal to their psychology and to their emotion, and then somebody will not easily be, persuaded to get involved. So, getting down to the issue at hand is people. There's a lot of job insecurity. I think that's the bottom line. There's a lot of job insecurity, and because of this job insecurity, people are becoming, sharper. How do some people are being contacted less by their bosses right now. They are feeling already irrelevant in their positions right now. Probably, like I mentioned earlier, technology is assuming their role, and therefore they anticipate in the next couple of months, if not already, some have been already served termination letters. So by the end of month, some people are leaving. So situations like these are becoming an issue because of the crisis. Of course, the crisis has led companies to revise their operational models and business models. So this has put jobs at stake, and because jobs are at stake, the people who hold these jobs are starting to think hard about how to survive. Speaking of survival instinct. So as they try to meddle their way through, whether or not they're holding their jobs, whether or not their requirements are being met in terms of payments and all, this is leading to them doing what? To them, becoming potential threat. Recently, we had a very big story. I don't know if you heard of a story back here in Uganda, the DFCU situation. Now, this was somebody who was hired to do a pen test. Then, as when they finished the job, they were retained, as somebody to continue doing work with the company. So this became, of course, part of the team at the bank. Little did we know that, little did these guys know that with time this person would become a problem, and indeed, this person swindled, a huge ton of money from DFC and crippled them, So that's a very one case. Of course, like in the past, we had the case of Equity with a reputable person in budget, somebody in the inside was compromised, to release, they were paid and they released compromising information about this big personality. I mean, if you guys have heard about some of the Bank of Uganda fraud stories and all. Then also as right now, what is going on is we talk about these payment aggregators, the mobile money agents. by virtue of somebody being a mobile money agent, they are already part and parcel of, let's say, the telco or the company with which they work. Now, if you went to, if a mobile money agent was attacked and money was lost, this also easily reflects backwards to the hiring authority of the company with which they work. So yeah, now more than ever, a lot is going on because of desperation, because of survival instincts, because of job insecurity, because of brokenness, right? So people are trying to say, how do I maneuver my way in the system? Somebody knows about budget allocation. Somebody knows about, I was sharing recently with a colleague who was cracking a joke, you know? They're like, man, there's so much money on this budget. What if we crack something so that, you know, they will not think about it? I mean, let's say somebody in Jumia decides to create havoc because they know right now they're a very reliable kind of platform for trading. So if somebody orchestrated an attack, let's say, they wouldn't think twice to spend money. So imagine somebody in Jumia orchestrates an attack. The Jumia instantly releases money to mitigate that threat. Of course, the guy goes and does his thing. So a lot of these things are happening because of, like I said, desperation, brokenness, job insecurity, survival instincts. So I think, I hope that really solves the question, Sebas.
Well, interesting. Again, like you said, it's about you know, the distress and the frustrations that people are having, and everyone is sort of trying to find a way to make a kill at the moment. And Michael, I know you're particularly interested in issue of infrastructure and especially the critical infrastructure. So we are seeing organizations that are traditionally considered critical. You know, things like the power industry, you know, power and water plants, communication systems, etc. Have really joined others. Have been joined by others rather that were not considered critical in the first place. You know, think of it um, as critical infrastructure or critical industries and the essential industries. So these two are sort of coming together, and this is sort of fundamentally changing the whole meaning of critical infrastructure. For example, the logistics companies. We see that during these lockdowns that we've been having with COVID-19, logistics companies have been given permits and licenses to operate, you know, during the lockdown because they have to deliver products, they have to deliver different services and things like that. So fundamentally, the whole critical infrastructure definition might be changing into a more critical and essential infrastructure. You know, right now we are looking at a situation where the people we normally or ordinarily think, for lack of a different way to say it, of lesser value, are becoming more important. You know, those people who will in the hospital who will wash toilets, they will cook food. We need those people right there to be able to cook that food to ensure sanitation and hygiene for the patients who are in the you know, for example, in the hospital. So supply chains, you know, now sort of also categorized as critical infrastructure, and we know supply chains, third-party risks are really top of the mind when it comes to cybersecurity. What concerns should guys in the supply chain have, and even their clans? What cybersecurity concerns should they be watching out for during this time, Mike?
Yeah, true. So we've seen a lot of other services being incorporated into some critical services. So, like you said, logistics, cleaning services, all those, they are being incorporated as some of the critical services that we have. And it has really come into mind that what we used to render as critical services, such as power, health, anything that would cause economic disruption, is really being diverse right now because a lot of people have now started looking at it from, yeah, delivery services are also critical. Without food, I cannot be able to move things. And you see now
I mean,
that
think,
most of these.
think guys like institutions like the supermarkets right now,
Yes,
very
yes.
very important. I mean the shops in our estate, those are very important guys. They are very essential.
Very essential, yes, and that is where I was coming to, because I visited my supermarket the other day here, and I was seeing that they're taking their services now to the online space. So they're saying that if you want to buy something from us, just visit this link, and then someone will come and deliver things to you. We've also seen other services coming up, things like previously we just used to have, let's say, DHL, Amazon, these things that used to deliver things to us. But now we are seeing even more localized solutions around technology. But now the question is, you see people like DHL, they had already invested in an infrastructure. What about now? This supermarket, this our local supermarket that is really now taking this online space. Has it really invested in the same infrastructure um, that the bigger companies have already done? No, they have not. So, what is the security risk around that? Because, as Jerome alluded to, right now, what we humans are doing is that we are trying to adapt, and we are trying to make sure that we are able to stay up to the standards that we want to stay in order for us to survive. Right now, basically, most of us are in a survival instinct. So this survival instinct is driving businesses to do some critical change within how they, they do delivery. So like a supermarket, or like what Sefas was saying, um, basic grocery delivery. Yes, it is okay, but now a security risk comes in, a cyber security risk comes in this perspective. What if someone just decides to use that service that probably they put out there for guys to use, and then they start ordering things that are not supposed to be ordered? What happens to the business then? They start shipping out um, goods that were not even ordered. They ship the goods out. Remember that that's money for them. So they ship them out. They go to where they want to be, and then the person who ordered them is not there anymore. That's one. Number two, what happens in a case where that service is rendered useless? Like, for example, a denial of service means that they are going a lot. So these the way that people are really trying to adapt to these new mechanisms of using technology in terms of delivery and incorporating these other new critical services that we as human beings need to have each and every other day, somehow posing a security threat that needs to be looked at. And the people who are supposed to be looking at this, now remember, a supermarket, yes, it does have a small IT department that probably comprises of one or two people, but their main purpose is not security. Their main purpose is making sure that everything doesn't go or probably away from a supermarket. But let's look at a grocery store. Like, for example, if someone runs a grocery store, they probably don't even have an IT infrastructure in place. All they have is a CCTV connected, and then they have a point of sale system. That's all they have. So it's really important, in as much as these services, they are critical for everyone. As long as they are being taken online, someone should be able to look at the security aspect about that. Because you might be going to that perspective of taking your services online, but it also it broadens up your risk vectors that probably you had not foreseen, just like the way we have not foreseen COVID-19 coming in. So opening up your business that was not used to an online business, being now an online business, also opens up to you, opens up more security risks that probably may ail your organization. And just to the previous point that we have asked, some of the things about uh, there's one thing that has really picked up since January to now, that organizations are really finding it hard to identify between an cyber threat and an
Michael, sorry, Michael, we We are not getting you clearly.
Oh, sorry. So I don't know where you lost me at. So I'm
Yes.
saying we've the previous point that Jerome was alluding to on insider threat. I've seen a lot of organizations trying to figure out the difference between impersonification kind of a threat and an insider threat, because one of the things that employees are doing, or probably attackers are using, is stealing credentials and using those credentials for the at the organization. So that is ideally an aspect of impersonification. I am not who I say I am. I'm someone different, but I'm within the organization, and the organization is not at a point of identifying that. Now that is one of the things that probably is one of the biggest headache for most of the IT teams out there, trying to figure out which one is authentic, which one is not. And this is why I was trying to now bring out the factor of two-factor authentication, because if someone steals credentials from one person or an employee of the organization and logs into the organization system without a two-factor authentication, becomes a really huge problem for the IT team. And if anything goes wrong within that specific infrastructure, the IT team and the person credentials who are stolen, then both of them are at a point of answering. So insider threat, it's growing at a very high rate, and also the perspective of impersonification too.
Interesting. Interesting observation there. I'm just trying to think to myself when it comes to the infrastructure aspect, and of course, within an infrastructure, of course, you have the people, because there's also a people-first approach to security and other business functions. All right, let me bring in something that you had mentioned earlier, Mike, in your presentation. You had talked about privacy and how privacy is sort of under attack during this time, and then of course there's a trend that is going on right now in terms of violation of privacy by governments, by institutions, and other actors. Um, and the crisis has just amplified sort of the risk factors by increasing the volume of, let's say, attacks that are targeting user data. Then of course this one has an impact on their privacy. So what Mike, would you say some of the risk factors and how have they changed, with regards to the COVID-19 scenarios? What are these data privacy risk factors that we should look out for? Because again, I think there are many of them, from contact tracing to organizations' violation of employee privacy, customers' privacy, maybe even being pushed by regulators or government institutions for disclosure and things like that.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned all of them. But anyway, I think one of the privacy concern that is coming around is if today I know Jerome and I know Lisa, and I have their contact, and I go to a hospital and they confirm, God forbid, that I have COVID-19, I will have to tell them about Jerome's contact. I will have to tell them Lisa's contact and where were we at the specific point. And one, for any data protection law or act that is out there, it normally says that, one, you should have consent to distribute information to any person out there. So if it's a state government, or if it's a government that is asking you to give out this information, that probably they classify that as an issue of national security, of which you as an individual really don't have an option. You just have to give them. So what does this do to Lisa and Jerome? They'll have to be contacted, and everyone else that they will have to, and everyone else that they have contacted is also contacted. So just look at the chain of how this information is falling into the hands of people that probably, well, assumed they are the state or probably the health. Just like if you go right now to a hospital, you'll have to leave all your details at the gate before you even enter the hospital. just in case anything goes wrong, they will have to contact you back. And some of the tactics that the governments are using is by using telecommunication providers to trace where you are, where you have been. I know this information is out there, but it is not for public consumption. But is COVID-19 a security? Is it a matter of national security? I don't know. Probably Jerome can tell me. So, but one of the things that I've really found about privacy violation is that some of these are the applications that are being developed for purposes of tracing someone where you are. They are relaying this information over the internet. And one of the things we know about the internet is that nothing is really private on the internet. Someone can be able to see whatever you are doing on the internet. And you can imagine there was this app that was being demonstrated about trying to figure out where people are. So people were installing an application, and then everyone who had that specific application would know where a person is at a specific moment, because from the dashboard of the application you'd see a dot of where a person is. So let's say you're a criminal and you wanted to follow this person around, so you would actually install the application. Automatically it synchronizes with every person, any other person that is around you, and then gives them your location. So if you wanted to follow this person all the way to their bedrooms, you could actually do that over the internet. And these are some of the things that we've seen as privacy violations, because if I'm to be followed wherever I am, if someone is to know every step that I'm doing, then it would mean that my life is not private. It's not my life anymore. It's our life, which is supposed not to be the case for most of the people. Another thing that I've seen about privacy violation a lot is in terms of now people getting to share these other information with different other people. Now, back to the start case scenario of that application, or yes, these applications that are being used. So you'll find that if we are organized, we can say that we can just decide to say that Jerome is a COVID-19 patient and we don't want him within our neighborhood. We know where he is right now. He's in his house, he's in the kitchen part of his house. So this is what we just need to do. So there's a lot of information that is being disseminated, put out there through the internet, and these tracking applications that are doing rounds. And one of the things that is really hurting the privacy space is that no one is really private with this information, because as long as you have that application, or as long as you fall in the watch list of any other government agency, then you're sure that even the telecommunication providers, your providers for your SIM card, they will give out this information to anyone, and you will be traced even to underground of your house. So there's really a lot of concerns about privacy that is really doing rounds with this COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, just to interject, Mike, yeah, this is really a very big issue. Man, thinking about privacy and this pandemic situation is so disturbing. One thing that would want to appreciate is, what if COVID had happened before these contact tracing apps were designed? Probably the privacy situation would have been given a bit of a, but still, that's a hard paper. Getting down to the question that Seth has posed, or that Mike tried to throw at me, whether or not COVID-19 is a national security threat. I think that's something, the people in authority need to consider, because I'm sure the people who came up with these apps were, like I said again, in the survival mode, survival instinct. People are like, how do we survive this? They did not think about, the flip side of the security side. In the security space, we usually disguise ourselves as the people who would ask the question of what could go wrong, while the regular IT guy will just make sure it works. So fine, our regular IT brothers are trying to make sure that, yes, we can trace a contact, trace an individual, trace their contact, and make sure that we're getting rid of any possible spread of this disease, but they're forgetting that in the process, they're hurting so many people. Felix has mentioned, for instance, what if we just connive? Very ugly situation there is, we just connive and say, okay, Cephas has COVID, we don't want him here because it's too good, therefore we beef him and we want to get rid of him. So I think, bringing back my fundamental point is, I think the challenge we have is these applications came way before the enactment of these legislations. And moving forward, I think the states, the various nations where these apps are being, actively used, should get down to the basics of the law and see, or even understand the impact, the adverse effects. This is a time more than ever that security experts are needed. How do we understand the adverse effect of exposing somebody this badly, and how do we counter, and how do we make for that? Probably the discussion can be moved on to see. Of course, many people are already assuming it is, but I think it needs to be put down in writing that, this is a national security threat, and therefore, because of that, we have every authority to access your information and use it as we so please. So that whoever is using the app, or whoever is running, or engineering the whole process of tracing and stuff, is protected by that. But still, that does not take away the fact that people are deeply affected by this. I don't know what better way it can be managed, but truly speaking, it's a very big challenge that needs to be given immediate attention before things go us, before that brilliant or badass hacker thinks, or bad attack agents think about the direction of now using, or that information as or using the app as an exploit per se. So yeah, it's a very big challenge, and I think something needs to be done about it.
Absolutely, something needs to be done about privacy. I know privacy is a tough conversation to have, and privacy specialists are always fighting their way around. Anyway, if you're interested in the privacy conversation around COVID-19, a couple of weeks ago, I did a webinar, the very experienced data privacy professional. And he was talking about some of the challenges that are being faced, the data privacy is facing during this crisis, from contact apps to data privacy policies and much more. So if you're interested in that webinar, please, you can go to YouTube, search out our Cyber in Africa channel. I should be having that video up somewhere. Please watch it and give us your comments. So as we wrap this up, I know traditional organizations have some really tough decisions to make around how to transition their employees and customers possibly back into their business or back into their premises. So I know measures like temperature taking and things like that have to be done. Let's say, for example, doing tests, actual coronavirus tests, for example, asking maybe employees and suppliers or customers for their health record disclosure. That is a huge privacy issue again during this crisis. From some quarters, there have been cries about how people are sharing health records. Even health institutions are sharing health records of some of their clients or patients, whether it be it with government or other entities, and that is a huge privacy issue as well. During contact tracing, you are forced to give your information. Who were you with? Where were you with? Who did you contact? All those things. So I think whichever path organizations we might take as we transition into the new normal and we're getting back on premise and things like those, that there will definitely be huge considerations to be made around data privacy. And the government and the public sector definitely has a huge role to play with the protection side of privacy. So that is yet to be seen. I think it's going to be an interesting unfolding over the next, possibly throughout this year as we go along. So as we wrap this up, any parting shot, Mike, then I'll come to you, Jerome.
Yeah, so I think the world has changed, and it is still changing until we see the end of coronavirus. I think we will have to adapt to the current situation, and the current situations are demanding more security measures to be put in place because of everything that is happening. Remote working was not one of the norm for most of the organizations, but nowadays I think it has become the new normal for them. Uh, who would have imagined that a watchman would be taking a doctor's temperature at the gate? I think that's the new normal that we are at now. And things have suddenly changed to something that we never foresaw. So it's important that each and every person in this conversation and probably who will be listening to this conversation later on to have a security perspective or have a security mind in place, because that's the only part that we can be able to beat these cyber criminals at, being aware of what is really happening. And once you're aware, you can be able to take them round and round until they are tired and they just move on to another side. So just like if everyone is aware and they want to move to the next target and they find they are aware, they're going to find um, very few victims or no victims at the end of it all. I know it is a journey and it is a very long journey, getting 7 billion people to be cyber aware, but it's good that it has already started, because at the end of it all, I normally say that for you as an individual, for your organization to be secure, you need to be looking at both people, processes, and technology. So our technology is good, or our processes are okay, but our people are not okay. So this conversation should be happening more often. And with the way that the world has changed, let's also adapt and make sure that we can be able to cope with what is happening. The survival instinct in human being, let it kick in, but also the security aspect of it. So that would be my thought in short.
Jerome?
Yes, thanks, Mike. I'll just follow through from what you've been trying to, what you've been concluding with about making cybersecurity considerations, and to that effect, I'd like to implore every one of us, whether individually or at company level, just pay attention to their security, posture, and ask themselves what their cybersecurity maturity, what position they are at on the cybersecurity maturity scale, right? Are you still discovering? Are you in the middle somewhere? Are you, I don't give a damn kind? So we need to pay attention to that, because notwithstanding, there is going to be lots more trouble in the near future. Then we need to know, just to keep alert that attackers are using now more than ever local news to tailor attacks. So that's something that I would like us to keep in mind when you see attacks going on. Look at what's going on, for example, in the news, and then you know that probably there's a or another that somebody is trying to leverage an attack using the local news. I could be Ugandan critically observing the news in in Kenya to orchestrate attacks in the Kenyan space. So that's just for us, a small tidbit for us to keep alert with. Then also, yeah, like Mike has mentioned, security is a journey, and it's not it's not a destination-oriented event. So let's keep growing, let's keep learning through these webinars and all of these. We should use COVID as a change catalyst. Whatever practices that we've been having, whatever tendencies, whatever observations we've been making in terms of security, COVID has come, and we should look at the lighter side of it, and use COVID as a change agent to catalyze our changes in the different ways we've been handling issues around cybersecurity. There's also a lot of advanced persistent threats aligned with government. This is going to increase a lot of cyber risk. This is to respond to two gentlemen, I think it's Amin and Kenneth, who are very, very much interested in knowing what risk there is, especially in government institutions. We know government is the biggest spender in most economies. So a lot of advanced persistent threat is going to take place. And there's a lot that could happen because the money is there, and in the private sector there is not much. But also, notwithstanding, to respond to Kenneth's last questions, there is need for public-private partnerships. You need generally partnerships. If you see that this security conversation is not something very, so easy to manage internally, outsource or, transfer the threat or transfer the risk so that the Yale Bridges, the Milimas of this world will come through and help you take care. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure. I've learned so much from you guys, and I know we've not had much time to hear much more questions from the audience, but for the people who have asked, I'm very glad. And Felix, Cephas, or Caught with an H, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I look forward to interacting more. I'm going to leave my Twitter handle on the chat. There's already a LinkedIn connection that has also been posted, so you can go ahead and let's have this conversation even beyond here. And keep your jobs. If you're scared, upskill, and don't be so afraid. but it is real.
Well,
yeah.
So just before you make a run, someone, Kenneth here is asking, I think, question number 2, that what cyber areas can a startup company pay more attention to in your perspective? Mike, you can maybe take a minute, each of you guys, to answer to that.
That's a very interesting question. Now, if it's a startup company, what with the social distancing, I normally like calling it physical distancing, social distancing. So physical with the physical. Can you hear me now?
Can hear you. Oh yes.
So I'm saying with the restrictions that are there in terms of physical distancing, it's really hard for organizations right now to really allow walk-in guests into the organization, and even if you walk into the organization, you will not find the right people either to talk to, or probably they won't if you're meeting for that. So what I would like, what would encourage for a startup in cybersecurity, try and look around innovations that can really be a part of, let's say, remote vulnerability assessments or remote penetration testing, or how you can be able to deliver services to your clients through remote platforms. So let's say like doing remote awareness trainings, remote assessments, and all that. So if you can innovate on areas around that, then I think that would be a niche for you, because most of the organizations have really looked towards testing where the people are actually there in the field. So remote ones will be good, because now you will not be limited to jurisdiction. You can do them either in Kenya or any other place that you are in.
All right, that's better. Yeah, we are getting a lot of noise from your end, Mike.
That's my end. Okay.
Should be a problem with your microphone or something.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you for that, Mike. All right. Not sure where that is coming from. Yes, Jerome. Any thoughts about cybersecurity for startups and SMEs? All right. Thanks, Jerome. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. I was on mute. Well, I think I put it as simply as this: just like they're starting their businesses with different functions or different, departments or different areas. Let's say they won't start a business without a financial plan, a strategy, whatever it is. I would implore every startup to have basic cybersecurity hygiene. Right? Let them take it head on, notwithstanding the current crisis. Let them just take on cybersecurity hygiene, by the horns. Make sure the basics are not ignored. Basic password security, what devices are using, what device user policy are you embracing? Is it a BYOD, or is it, if it's remote working, what platforms are you using? Are they licensed? Stuff like that. Basic cybersecurity hygiene. Let them make it a key component of their business, especially if they are heavily tech or they'll interact a lot with tech infrastructure. I think that's what I tell them.
All right, you've heard it, Kenneth, and the others in the room. So this is a wrap. Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Felix, for, of course, like I normally say, being fluent. Thank you, our attendees, for coming around and sticking with us for the last hour and more. I hope we've learned much. Hope we've taken some notes, and hope we've learned some new lingo and gotten some ideas as well that we can also resound elsewhere. It's always good to borrow and learn from what other people are saying. It makes you sound intelligent when you get into another forum. So it's I hope you all have you know taken note of some of the punchlines, the interesting statements. They come in handy, trust me. So all right, so a quick one. I have posted two links in the chat section. One is for our Cyber in Africa brief newsletter. Wow, I don't know where that noise is coming from. Okay, hope you can hear me. So I've posted two links in the chat section. One is for Cyber in Africa brief newsletter. Please go ahead, check it out. Subscribe. We'd love to be talking to you via email. Again, register for the QuarterCon conference for Q2 2020. There are links there. Just click there, go to the site. Make sure you register. Spaces are limited for your information. So make sure you register as early as you can. And we'll be sure to get back to you later on when you're reaching out. Okay, so that is a wrap for us. Thank you all. Thank you, Yelbridges. Thank you, Lisa, for putting this up and making sure we've been here today. And I look forward to next week's webinar, and hope you all are still going to join us. More information with regards to the next webinar will be shared on social media. So keep watch, stay tuned, stay woke, and stay safe. Have a good afternoon.